Very well, welcome back. The draft constitution clearly is in a massive distress. Well, the Gambia government, the Barrow administration is now trying to bring it back in the way of finding a consensus around the document. And this was why they hired, or they tapped, the former president of Nigeria, mediation expert, if you like, to come in and find a way of talking to our political leaders in a bid to finding an agreement, a deal, so that the document or the charter can be taken back to the National Assembly. Kexx Sanneh has been monitoring all the events that has been happening. He joins me now. Kexx, thank you for joining me. What do you have to say about this new approach, if you like, there by the government?
Actually, Lamin, thank you very much once again for having me on this platform, Father Network, and thank you to your listeners. Actually, it sounds so funny to me when I had the whole idea of bringing somebody to come and mediate, or a kind of trying to settle like there's a constitutional crisis or a constitutional impasse in the Gambia, which actually didn't happen in this country. And I heard that the president has to hire somebody to come all the way from Nigeria by the name Goodluck Jonathan to come and negotiate with the Gambian politician to see how best we can definitely have this draft constitution passed through the parliament when actually there is no problem. So everything sounds funny to me, and I think the executive could be in a better position to tell the Gambian people why Goodluck Jonathan is here, because for me, I have not seen any issue that warrant Goodluck Jonathan to leave all the way from Nigeria to come to the Gambia in regards of talking or trying to convince the Gambian people to accept the draft constitution, which the vast majority of the National Assembly members already accepted the draft constitution, because going by the voter trend, those who said yes to the draft constitution are more than those who said no to the draft constitution. So actually, I have no idea why he's here, but for me, it's waste of resources, it's waste of time. For me, it doesn't worth it. We have a way in which we could have handled this situation without the involvement of the outsiders, and we could have solved the matter if the executive are truly ready and they are willing and they have the will to have this draft constitution as the constitution of the Gambia.
But Kexx, when you say it is that there is no problem, you know, clearly that would be a bold argument. Clearly there is a problem. Clearly there is a stalemate. There is a standoff really over this. You have this party, this side, fighting with this side. This side is saying we are not happy with A, B, and C, and this is why we are not supporting it. So you clearly need someone to come in to find a way of making sure that there is agreement. You don't agree?
Yeah, actually, I would have agreed with that if it is political parties in the opposition side, their National Assembly members have a divergent view in regards to the draft constitution. They feel like, okay, they are not supported. One could say that there is an impasse that needs a mediation. But in this aspect, it is the executive that claim that they want this draft constitution to go through the National Assembly to pass and become the law of this country, are the very people that are calling a mediation team. And if you look at the voter trend in the National Assembly, if you look at the UDP National Assembly members, the entire UDP National Assembly members has voted in favor of the draft constitution. The DOI members has all voted in support of the draft constitution. The GDC, the two that we know, they are still supporting GDC, that's Umaru and Alaji, all voted for it. The ones that vote against it are the ones we know that they have leaned to Barrow side. And the National Assembly members that were suspended in the UDP, UDP camp, and they become independent National Assembly members supporting Barrow camp, and one Mohamed Magasi of independent and NRP National Assembly members. And all these people are in the side of the executive. So for me, if the executive have the will, and they definitely are ready to have this draft constitution as the constitution of the Gambia, the best thing they could have done is to talk to their National Assembly members and tell them, okay, this is the situation right now, and let's just look at the bigger picture, and that's the Gambia. And we are not drafting a constitution for an individual. We are not drafting this constitution to suit Adama Barrow or to suit any other politician, but we are drafting a constitution that favors or that speaks the language of the Gambian people. And it is clearly stated in their coalition manifesto that, you know, when they came into power, their task is constitutional reform, institutional reform, electoral rules to be reformed. These are the agendas. And if the coalition failed to achieve this, then they have failed the Gambian people totally, because these are the agendas that they have campaigned issue. And the constitution is quite important because we have all accused the 1997 constitution has been a soldier constitution. You know, others even went to the extent calling it a toilet constitution. So it was a toilet paper. So it went up to an extent that we all know that the 1997 constitution has been amended for 60-something times during a Jammeh regime in trying to suit him. So we say that now at least we will not have a better draft constitution, but there's a stage in the National Assembly where all those objections that they could have discussed, and subject matter, especially like the CRRC, will be invited and they will give a better explanation to them whether they will, maybe their interpretation and the interpretation of the CRRC or what it doesn't mean, then you will have a better understanding. At that stage, you still have the right to vote no or yes at the committee stage or at the third reading. But they killed the bill at the second reading, when you should only look at the general principles and the merits of the bill rather than, you know, going into the details of the bill. But the National Assembly members, you know, instead of waiting for the third stage where they will look at clause by clause, they just jump fence and went and just killed the bill at the second reading.
Why do you think their political leaders did not take that approach? The approach of just, I mean, that is a very simple approach of just telling your MPs, look, we just go and then say yes to the bill. Why do you think their political leaders didn't do that?
It sounds funny to me, and the trend that the executive is taking, meaning that we're going to start fresh if this bill has to come back to the National Assembly. That means that it has to start fresh, like the day it was tendered to the Adama Barrow president. Then it has to come to the parliament and it has to be gazetted for 3 months, 10 days before it appears in the parliament. And if that goes, it has to go through the first reading, the second reading, it goes to the third reading, publication in the gazette, and so many things. So that might take us maybe, and the election, the constitution is very clear that 6 months before the election, you cannot change any electoral laws in this country. And if you look at the draft constitution, you'll find out that there are clauses that touch the IEC, and the law is very clear that 6 months before the election, you can touch. So for me, my own understanding, these people are just taking a way that will delay the entire process until 6 months is elapsed. We will not have the 2020 draft constitution, and we'll go in the 1997 constitution that doesn't have age limit, that doesn't have the single majority. At the end of the day, when the president is elected based on the 1997 constitution, what he will do, okay, we are elected based on the 1990, and there's no law in the 1990 that says that there's a term limit. So then my 2 terms are not count. The 2 terms that I have served here are not. So the counting will start. So he might go for another 4 years, 4 terms rather than just a 2-term president. So for me, that's the tactic, because if you want to start afresh, I know that we will not have the target, because you have to.
But if you look at the man who is spearheading this effort, the Attorney General, he said that, well, they are pressed for time, but it's doable. That is what he is saying.
For me, actually,
you cannot see that.
I didn't see that. Like, okay, still now they are on the negotiation, where in general, National Assembly has closed. They are not sitting until March. They have signed there until the next legislative year, that's 2021 legislative year. By March, okay, let's take an example. But
emergency sessions can
be called, they can
right?
call on an emergency session.
Yes.
But you know, when it was tabled before the speaker said that he has not seen any urgency in the bill. So, and he is the presiding officer in the National Assembly. Because there was a motion that was tabled before for the draft constitution to come back to the National Assembly, and for him, he said there is no urgency in it. That's why he didn't give leave to the honorable member to table his motion. So he might say that, okay, let's wait, since March is almost at the door, let's wait. Okay, like March, you gazetted for 3 months, 10 days, then March, April, May, June, we are going into June. Then how many months before 2021? And by 2021, we should go in for election. Then from there, the National Assembly has to debate. How many weeks will it take for them to debate about it? You take it back to IEC, then IEC start registration and referendum and other things, because every eligible Gambian must vote in a referendum. So if people are 18 years and they didn't have voters card, they must be registered so that they will have the right to say yes to a document that will govern them. How process will that take? And you go into the referendum, for how long will it take? So for me, I feel like the time is not there. We might end up going into the 2021 election with the 1997 constitution.
So to you, what you are sensing is that the government is using this tactic as a way of further, you know, suppressing this document, so that we can stick to the 1997 constitution, which will give the president even maybe which will be a little more favorable to him.
Yeah, I might be wrong, or I might, but for my own suggestion and thinking, because there is a better way, that is the most simplest way, that the executive, they truly want this draft constitution to pass, they could have used that. They have National Assembly members that are supporting the executive, that's the NPP, those who are show their allegiance to the NPP. And all what you need is ask them to go with a motion to the National Assembly and rescind their earlier decision, and the draft constitution will come back to the parliament and they will debate it. Or either talk to them, those who voted against the draft constitution, okay, hey, this is what we promised the Gambian people, and for us, we want this draft constitution to go. So you, the National Assembly, you change your earlier position and support the draft constitution, and we are assigning the Minister of Justice to come back with the draft constitution to the National. But when it comes to support the draft constitution, I think you don't need this mediation team. You could have done, or assign them to come with a motion to rescind their decision. So for me, I think that this whole idea is just, to blackmail us, to play with our intelligence.
So is it also your view that the government is trying to fool the international community? Because you could see a lot of pressure from the side of the international community. We've seen the ECOWAS president come to the Gambia, and what he said was categorically clear, that they stand with the Gambian people in respect of this, of a new constitution.
Indeed.
We have seen what the European Union, all of the European Union, their statement. So are you saying, because the amount of goodwill that the government is projecting is quite obvious. Wherever they stand, they say we are committed, we are committed. And at the meeting, the dinner that was held, I was there with Jonathan, what the representative of the NPP, if you like, vis-a-vis President Barrow, what he said is that they are committed to ensuring that this new constitution is realized. So do you sense that the issue of them trying to give a fake impression, if you like?
Yeah, for me, Lamin, when the draft, for me, I think they are given, because they even killed the draft constitution before even it reached at the National Assembly, because we have seen the position of the cabinet in regards to the draft constitution. Their papers were out, and for them, they feel like there are almost 7 to 8 points that they have pointed out that they are not in line with that. And if you look at the trend of the debate in the National Assembly, the same line that the executive is arguing is the same line that the National Assembly members that have allegiance to President Barrow are arguing. So that means that the same objection was communicated to those people to go against this draft constitution. That's why they didn't even wait for the third stage. They just killed the draft constitution at the second reading. And you might be right, and everybody will be right, because if the government has the intention and what they are portraying outside that they want this draft constitution, they have a better way that this draft constitution could have passed. Now we are thinking of going for a referendum, because the will is there, and this is the promise that they have given the Gambian people. And you talk to them, this is the first time in the history of the Gambia that at least Adam Barrow, this is a legacy. I don't know who is advising him, but this is a legacy that will follow President Adam Barrow forever, because Gambian people has never drafted a document that will govern them since independence up to today. 1965 constitution was inherited from the colonial masters. The 1997 constitution, there was no parliament at that time. So they just draft the document and take it back to the people, and they just vote yes or no without even understanding what is the content. For the first time in the history of this country, that entire Gambian population, both home and abroad, contributed one way or the other to make sure that we draft a government that will govern us as the way, for the first time in the history. And this will also in a third republic, in the leadership of Adam Barrow. This is a legacy that cannot be erased. I don't know whether Barrow is not thinking about, but you look at their objections, they are telling them, okay, it has restricted or it has seized the right that the president have. Somebody who stood as a coalition, a candidate, and said he will serve for 3 years. If you have 5 years, why can't you thank God? But you are looking for another extra terms, and you want to just throw our constitution because of it. We are not drafting a constitution to favor any individual. We are drafting a constitution to favor the Gambian people, and Adam Barrow should understand this. And for me, the trend that they are taking, they are just blackmailing the people. If they want the draft constitution to come back to the parliament, they have an easier way where it will save money, it will save the resources, and it will save time. And for me, the politicians that are going and listening to these people, for me, I feel like it's an insult to them, because they have never adjusted the draft constitution. So what are you going there to discuss? And the next, I didn't see any document that will say, okay, this is what we are discussing. At least there must be a text that will be before the entire Gambian people that, okay, good luck, Jonathan is here. And this is the context that we are going to discuss. But I have never read anywhere that they can say, okay, this is what we are discussing. So why are you there? Is it that what the executive probe or agents, that's what you want us to accept, the will of the executive, when the vast majority of the Gambian people want the draft constitution as it is?
What do you make of the role of PDIS then? Because they clearly we at least we have an idea as to what their position. But then what we have seen is that at that meeting, Doi did not turn up. No Doi official turned up. You have almost all the political leaders there, but Doi didn't come. And then later I asked questions, and I was informed that Doi is not even trying to come anywhere near that. So what do you know anything in respect of Doi and its role in this mediation?
Yeah, actually, for me, I didn't get to talk to them why they are not there, whether they are even invited in the first place or not. But what is clear to me...
The government told me they were invited.
Very good, okay. And what is clear to me is that during the press conference, Khalifa said there is no problem in the first place for him to go there. And to my own understanding, Doi has never gone against this draft constitution. So Doi's position is they want the draft constitution to go to the people, and they decide whether they want the 1997. So for me, there is no problem in the side of Doi to even go there and listen. What are you going to say? When actually, and I read and I heard Khalifa saying that there is no even a document that they could have tell them, okay, this is why we are inviting you people to come and discuss. So for them, they didn't even understand what is the content. And for me, if I was a leader of a political party and I supported the draft constitution, and then, for me, I have no problem. Then still now I supported that, then I'm not even going there. What, am I going to negotiate? The problem is in the side of the executive. Their National Assembly members are the ones that killed the draft constitution at the second reading. So let them engage those people. The problem is not at the side of UDP, neither GDC, neither DOI. The problem is at the executive. So if they are truly ready to negotiate this, let them talk with the executive and tell them that let's see the bigger picture, not an individual picture, and allow this draft constitution to go. And it will leave a legacy in this country that the entire world will be proud of Gambia. After 22 years of dictatorship, we have moved in now to charter our own destiny. We must at least charter in with a third republic, and we cannot have a republic without a constitution. You must have a constitution, then you usher in a third republic. And that was the idea of the entire Gambian people, that after the change, we will usher in the third republic. But if we allow these things to happen, then that means that we are yet to go into the third republic. Still now we are in the second republic. And we all know the history surrounding the second republic of this country.
What do you think now? Because Standard Newspaper is reporting today that there is a deadlock, there is a stalemate still. Jonathan left the country yesterday in the evening, and now today Standard is reporting, relying on sources, that the talks really, there is no breakthrough. It would appear that still there is a problem. So where does that leave us? Leave the entire issue now?
Yeah, I think, just like I'm saying, they want to just impose the will of the executive to these political leaders, and I'm 100% sure that they will not allow that. Because for us, like the issue of appointment of ministers, they object to that everything must be in the hands of the executive, that the president to appoint and sack. And for us, we said power back to the people. And we are not saying that the president will not have the power to appoint a minister. But all what we need is the confirmation of the National Assembly. Then you can choose Lamin Njie to be your Minister of Interior. But all what we need is for Lamin Njie to go before the National Assembly, the letter to go before the National Assembly, and they will look at the CV of Lamin Njie to find out whether Lamin Njie have a good record, track record, whether he is qualified for the position. This is all what the National Assembly is requiring. They are not saying that but others interpret it that they want to take the power from the president. And at the same time, if you want to sack Lamin Njie, you must forward your reasons why you want to. Then it will come back to the Parliament, and Parliament will look at it and see whether it is reasonable for you to sack Lamin Njie. And this is the beauty of democracy. And this because by then we know that the former president, have been using, he can just fire based on politically, like you don't support his agenda, when actually you are qualified to serve that position, and just sack you because you don't support his agenda. And we said we want to have an institution that the civil servants will work until their retirement if they don't violate any laws in this country, but not to sack and fire them at any time. Just look at it. And it's very funny. You can just take a Solicitor General just today, you say, okay, go to the Foreign Service. What is the reason?
We'll get to that, because, amid all these, events happening, all of a sudden, SG Marina was dismissed, was sacked. So I was like trying to connect the dots. I asked people, a lot of people, and they say, okay, it is not connected to this issue. But then that is what has happened. But also, let's talk briefly about Khalifa. What we have seen is that he came to the Parliament in a bid to, scrapping, trying to sort leave from the Speaker to overturn the decision that was made by the Parliament in September. That was rejected, and Khalifa really is clearly not happy with
the decision of the Speaker.
And we have seen him complaining.
Yeah.
You are somebody who is always at the National Assembly. What did you see? Khalifa appears really disappointed, and he might rue this for the entire new year.
Yeah, definitely for him.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, there is a provision that is in the standing orders and even relying on the Constitution that the National Assembly members, you can seek what we call motion without notice before the Speaker to give him a leave, to table a motion that the National Assembly members can rescind their decision and reconsider whatever decision they have taken earlier. Like it happens when they made that $54 million loan scheme. The next day, Khalifa came with a motion for the National Assembly members to rescind their decision and throw that loan scheme out of the National Assembly, but the vast majority of the National Assembly members said they still want the loan scheme. So it's the same procedure that he did in this one too. He find out that there is a way around, and since the executive are trying to bring the international communities, to come and help us, in terms of our own affairs, the way and the manner we govern. For him, he feel like that if there's a room for the National Assembly member, and since he's a sitting National Assembly member, let them use that route rather than inviting other people, because it seems like we cannot manage our own affairs as a country, and one might even go further to say that even question the sovereignty of this country. So Khalifa feel it deemed necessary to come with a motion, since there's a provision in the standing orders and at the same time in the constitution to come with a motion. So he seek the leave of the speaker so that he can table a motion for the National Assembly to rescind their decision and continue at the second reading where they stop. Because other procedures that they want to take, they will start afresh. And for him, he thinks that they can continue with the second reading and invite the CRRC as a subject matter specialist, since the CRRC has already been dissolved, but they can be invited as a subject matter specialist, and they can advise the National Assembly members, those who don't understand. So this was the whole idea of his motion, but the speaker, the discretion lies on the speaker that he can entertain the motion or not. And using his discretion, he
threw it out.
He ruled it out, and that was and Khalifa feel like, okay, the arguments that he forwarded based on why he ruled out his motions were not convinced to him by saying that he didn't see any urgency in it. And Khalifa questioned if you can invite the international communities and you say there is no urgency in them. And he relied on some concept that the draft constitution can only come back to the National Assembly through the executive. And Khalifa said that there's no provision in this constitution that says that you can reintroduce a bill that has been sent out of the parliament. The only way you can do that is by coming with a motion to rescind your earlier decision. That means that you wipe out what the decision that then you can bring it back. As far as you didn't take that route, it's not in line with the law. So for him, he didn't see in his judgment, there is no legality that he rely on to deny him the motion, and he feel it necessary to call the press and tell them what actually transpired in the National Assembly, and everybody, the history will be the judge.
Do you think he will go to court?
No, I'm not sure he will definitely go to court. I'm not sure of that.
He will sue the speaker. Well, I mean, I know Khalifa is really, really disappointed in the decision of the speaker there. So one more thing, you are always in the National Assembly, and then what we have seen is that Hamad Ba, at the weekend, I mean, whether it is an attempt, deliberate or not, what we have seen is that what he told the people of Nyamina is that Omar Sise is the one who is blocking their development. He voted against the SAB. You are always at the NASA. Did he vote against the SAB?
No, actually he didn't he voted, but his argument, Ahmad Ba was, I understand where he's coming from. He's arguing with Umar Sy during his contribution to the whole draft, the appropriation bill. When it came there are so many roads construction, and Umar looked at the entire document and found out that there is nowhere in Nyamina East that has been included in the road construction. And he made an argument that development should not be based on because of a particular area is supporting the incumbency, and they should construct the road, but they should look at people that need, and Nyamina West definitely need this road. And for him, he feel like people are just giving out these roads to the people. They feel like they are supporting their agenda, and they are all taxpayers' money, and it should be important for the executive to reflect on when they are doing this thing distribution. They look at the places that need, irrespective of whether you are in the opposition or you are in the ruling government. And he made this argument, but at the end of the day, during the vote, he voted for the supplementary. He never voted against, but he make arguments in regards to that, like you have an objection, like you will not agree entirely with what is before you, but when they put everything together and said vote, you might vote, but you must bring your arguments, and the ministers will come and defend and verify. And the Minister of Work was there, and he trying to justify why it was why they did that, but I could not, because I went back and I checked the video that Umar posted is my own video, and I checked and I found out that during the voting he voted for the supplementary budget. But he have arguments. He argue in the floor of the National Assembly that, the executive are not doing the right thing. So maybe Ahmad Ba might take that and see it as he have voted against, but in actual sense, he never voted against. But here I agree with some of the issues in the supplementary.
Kexx, I take you as my Daniel Dale there of CNN to fact-check what Ahmad said, and now you have fact-checked Ahmad. Ahmad is wrong in claiming or saying that Honorable Omar Sise voted against the SAP. That will be that for the show today. Thank you for being there. Kexx, thank you. As always, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very
So
much.
that is it from me. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then.